These twice on a Monday, I invite authors into my home. We talk about books, writing, life as an author, and whatever comes to mind. And tonight, Rachael Wright is joining me. How are you this evening, my dear?
I'm doing wonderful, Tina. Thank you so much for having me.
It is a pleasure to have you. I've been looking forward to this chat. I am inspired by your books. But before we get started, can you just give a little background onto anything you want to share with the rest of the world about yourself?
So I got into writing about a decade ago. I grew up as an avid reader. I used to get grounded by having my books taken away from me, which was quite traumatizing. And then I started writing novels when my oldest was about 3. Um, the first ones were not my best work, but I've pushed through. I started working as a journalist about 6 years ago. So I write a rural column about issues facing ranchers, farmers, small communities in Colorado. That's where I was born, on a ranch in Colorado, so I have a great background in that, which is, excuse me, it's been so much fun to get more connected with my state and the people in our community, and somewhere between having 2 kids and a job, I've managed to write. My husband is just phenomenal. So it's fun. I get to write about Scotland, which is one of my huge passions. I studied British history at university. I have a political science degree as well. So it's just a great way for me to continue learning, but also just pursue my passion for writing.
Wow, what a career you have. And you started, writing stories at 3 years old?
Oh no, not that early. I started novel writing a decade ago.
Okay,
I was writing little stories,
at 3.
not at 3. I I think I wanted to be a zebra when I was 3, but my my dad has a picture of like some drawing I did, and I was like, I'd like to be a zebra. Um,
Okay, so drawings, I misunderstood when you were talking. I heard the word
yeah,
3 at the number 3, I'm like, "No way." So I heard,
my oldest was 3 when I started
oh,
writing,
okay, that's where I got confused.
and yeah, and now he's 14, so it's
Well, congratulations, really now, what
thank you.
inspired this love of Scotland and obviously, studying British history because you're American. I have to say, because we talked about this before we went live, I was reading your bio, you're a lover of tea, a Manchester United fan, and I'm like, "This girl has to be British." And then we got talking and you're not. So what inspired this love for the British culture, British history, and to actually study it and get a degree?
So my grandparents were a huge part of my life growing up. I was incredibly close to them both, and we in our family we knew a lot about my grandfather's side of the family, but no one had really studied my grandma's, which was a shock to me because she was just this woman. with- My dad used to call her a force of nature, and she was just a, a matriarch, and her family is Scottish, but unfortunately, her grandmother died when her own mother was 3.
Oh,
They were actually at a Scottish festival, and she was shot by a man who was drunk, and
oh no.
my grandmother lost that connection to her family, and all she knew was a name. And my grandmother would tell me stories all the time about growing up during the Great Depression. She remembered um, one year when they had a horse and cart to take them to school, and the next year when they had a bus, when they had a car that was taking them around.
That's
She
crazy.
remembered she worked as a Rosie the Riveter in Los Angeles during the Second World War. My grandfather was in the Navy during the war. So it was really them that inspired me instilled me, I guess, with this love of history. And I wanted to find out where my grandmother's family came from. And like many Americans, I kind of went down that rabbit hole. and I was able to find her family and found her ancestors that came over. Uh, so it's a long process of just kind of falling deeper in love with history, with Scottish history, and it's just kind of it's instilled me with a lifelong passion for the country, for the mythology, for the stories. And I try to go back once a year, and I've met so many phenomenal people. And the town that I set my book in is has to be my favorite place in the world. It's beautiful. It's just the most fantastic place. So I was really excited to be able to kind of share that in the novel and share my love of the place.
Well, if readers want to know about this little town, they need to get this book, right?
They do indeed.
Anyways, now the title of the book is the one that we're
The Twins of Strathnaver.
And
so Strathnaver, yes, here. There we go.
Okay.
Sorry, it's backwards.
That's all right. That's okay. We can figure it out. Go ahead and give us a little background of the book without giving too much away.
So the book is about twins who are the last in a long line of a family who can see and speak to ghosts. In Strathnaver, there are 4 ghosts some have been there for time immemorial, others are a lot more recent. And the story traces what happens when a metal detectorist with a pretty dark background comes to Tongue, which is the village, and tries to dig up some buried Jacobite gold in a nearby loch. And it's a long tale, and it includes a lot of history, but I think it weaves it together really well.
It sounds
you get the Second Jacobite Uprising. So this includes a historical event that took place right before Culloden, and it meant that Bonnie Prince Charlie didn't get 13,000 pounds worth of gold from the French, and historians say that it wouldn't have made a difference, but we shall never know.
We shall never know. We shall never know. So the characters in your book, are they based on actual people of history, or are they fictional?
The twins are not. So their family is fictional to an extent. Actually, in Tongue, there is friends there have told me it's called the Witch's House. It's in ruins, and it's at the edge of the village. But that was a big kind of impetus for me when I learned about it. I was like, well, why is that? Why is it at the edge of the village? And built a lot of the story off of that. Like, what would it mean to live as someone being so different in such a small village in Scotland, the very, very north of Scotland?
How long did you spend in the town to do your research?
Several months. So over the course of several years.
You got to know the town pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And
I made some good friends. Yes.
Yeah.
I always stay at the same place when I go. And there are a few of the locals who also are on the board of the Strathnaver Museum, which is largely geared towards the Highland clearances, but they have so much knowledge of the area, know so much of the folklore, and I'm just so indebted to them as well for sharing with me so much of the history.
And I bet they were thrilled to learn that your book was being based in their town.
Yeah, I mean it's been a few years, but they were excited. In March I went back and I did a talk on the anniversary of this event. It's called the Skirmish at Tongue, and I was able to get my friend Paul McDonald to come with me. So he is Scotland's really premier armorist. He was a part of the team that created the new Elizabeth sword for King Charles's coronation in Edinburgh. So, I mean, he's a fantastic historian, knows so much. He's also an amateur metal detectorist, an archaeologist, and is doing some just super exciting work excavating, Jacobite sites in Scotland. So it was so much fun to have him there, and we got to talk about the Jacobite Uprising. We got to talk to locals about this event that took place, and we're able to point through the window of the community center and show them, exactly how it happened. Yeah, so it was brilliant.
Okay, I'm going to pause for just a minute. I'm ignoring our readers here because I'm so fascinated with your book. I apologize, readers. I'm going to pop up and let's see who's joining us. Again, if I'm joined with Rachael Wright. If you have any questions to Rachael, I saw a few in the comments. Go ahead and leave them in the comments, and I will get to as many as I can. But tonight we have, let's see who's joining us. Where we go? No, where'd she go? Let's try again. We have, okay, Lori is here. She says, hello, Karen is here. And then we have Janet Castano-Ravel is here. Elaine is here. She says she wants to read this one. Lou Ann is here. She's my editor. Hey, Lou Ann. Glad you're joining us. I'm going to pop a few comments up. My comments just jumped down to the bottom. Lori says, I loved history in school and also English literature. Well, I'm going for the comment. I do too. One of the questions I asked you is the people that you met in this little town, were any of your characters based on any of these people?
Yeah, I haven't. I think I've told her this. June Mackay, who's at the Strathnaver Museum, she does get a cameo as Rose.
Nice.
Just as a small way to say thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, so. That's wonderful. I love that. Connie is here. Hold on, there's one right here. When it came to the research of this book, a lot of history. What is the time period of this book?
So it takes place in 1997. Actually, it starts on the day that Princess Diana died in Paris. Which is what kind of kicks off. There's a lot tied to, if we think about the tabloid scandals with Princess Diana. So not to give too much away, she's not in the book. It's just I wanted to give that hint. So
okay, that makes sense.
That does play a big role in this novel.
Was there anything during your research for the book, whether it be in the town, the ghosts, was there anything shocking that just like surprised you when you're doing your research that you didn't expect to find out?
Oh, I think when we think about the Jacobite Uprising in 1745 and 46, we think primarily of Culloden. We think of the aftermath. And I think when you get shows like Outlander, we kind of come away with a distorted view of history. That it's, I don't want to say like possible to change, or kind of like those what ifs of history. And I was taught that those aren't a good use of a historian's time. But I wanted to highlight a lesser known event. And I mean, this ship that left France, so we know that the French often, over hundreds of years, supported the Scots in their fights against the English. And that was a really bone of contention between the Scots and the English. But this ship left, it's called the Le Prince Charles. It left France, and it had actual British pounds, 13,600 British pounds worth in gold. So they were in 5 casks.
Wow.
And they're fairly big size and of a good weight. They were supposed to enter the Moray first. So if people remember, you have Loch Ness here, and then Loch Ness is incredibly long. You go up, you have Inverness, then you have the Moray Firth, which comes down from the North Sea. That's about where Le Prince Charles was supposed to come in, but unfortunately they were spotted by HMS Sheerness, and they decided to, we're going to go up the coast of Scotland the east coast of Scotland and then cut across on the Pentland Firth, and they were outrunning the HMS Sheerness. I mean, I read the captain's account and had one of my friends who's a Frenchman translate it, so we got closer to the actual a good translation. And they came all the way up the coast of Scotland, went almost all the way across the north coast, and then they dropped down into the Kyle of Tongue, and it is an extremely shallow Kyle. So it's almost like a Norwegian fjord. It comes down like this.
Oh, wow.
And just a teeny tiny river here, and you have Tongue, and then on the opposite side you have Melness. And they grounded Le Prechal against on the sandbanks. It was a massive gun battle. I mean, it went on for a whole day, and what happened was, the mast was completely broken. There were dead men on the deck, and the Captain Antoine Talbot, decided to nail his colors to the mast. They took the gold, they took all the men. I mean, in the middle of the night.
Wow.
In Scotland in March, which, if anybody's been to Scotland in March, it's
cold.
It's cold. It gets dark early. And they're not prepared at all. I mean, thinking about hiking in Scotland on the moors or on the peatlands, you need really good boots, you need sealskin socks, you need gaiters, something, and they don't have any of that. And they're over 100 miles from Inverness, and they're trying to go south all the way down to get to Inverness with 5 casks of gold. And they were basically hunted down by the independent Mackay companies, who, I mean, shocker, they knew they were there. And they just lulled them all the way down the Kyle. They send a little party, fire some pot shots at them, and then run away. And then the Frenchmen and the Jacobites would follow, pursue, and it's follow, pursue. And then they get to Loch Hakan, which is right at the end of the Kyle. And rumor has it that they buried gold in the loch, because in 1870 a cow came limping out of the loch, and a farmer dug out a Spanish gold coin from her hoof.
Did anyone go look for it?
Lots of people. There's documentaries. My friend Paul has done it about this buried gold. Most of it was accounted for because Lord Ray, who was the chieftain of Clan Mackay, brought all of the Frenchmen, all the Jacobites back to the House of Tongue. He parceled out the gold to his sons, who were captains and lieutenants in the independent Mackay companies. He gave lots of gold away as gifts to his men, and then sent the rest back to the English. To the Hanoverians.
Wow.
So yeah, supposedly there's buried gold in Loch Hakan.
That's the story. Thank you for telling me about that. Now I just learned.
So that was the most surprising thing, like the buried treasure.
And it amazes me. You talk about these stories from the 1800s, 1700s, even the people that, cross country in the US, how much tougher they were. Just
so tough.
200 years ago. I mean,
but they didn't have knowledge of anything that we do.
That's true. But they just.
I think yesterday I went out hiking and I took a different route than I normally did, and then I had to scramble up a cliff face to kind of get back on the trail, and I was like, I might die here. But you just have to do it. You just
push yourself.
Got to get back.
There's so many stories of these people just crossing the U.S. in wagons. No roads, no nothing, just
Or my ancestors that came over from Scotland and Ireland, and they're spending 6 weeks on a creaking, horrid ship.
Yeah.
Crossing the Atlantic. I mean, that sounds awful to me. I don't know how you do that. I don't know how people.
They were just so much tougher. They really were.
So tough.
Pop up a few questions from readers. You told me before we went live that you have a very supportive husband. So Lloyd's asking, do you have any writers in your family other than
Um,
yourself?
no, my parents and my sisters are all very. My dad's a businessman, but I have three sisters, and they all got Bachelor of Science degrees.
Okay. Okay. Do
Um,
they read your books?
I think they do.
Let's hope
I
so.
think so. Um, one of them does. I know she buys all my books.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. But my husband is actually an artist, but he's more of a visual artist. And somehow we managed to, our oldest is also just a phenomenal artist. But no, there aren't any other writers.
Okay. Does your husband read your books?
He does, yeah.
Yay. All right. Excellent. Belinda's here. She says hello. I didn't pop her up last time. She says hello. Lori has another question. She would like to know who inspired you to write your books?
Well, Tolkien. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings
Hobbit.
nerd. Yeah.
I love him too.
But there's this one story I tell all the time. I read through all the books in our house one summer, and I just went like on the verge of tears to my dad, and I was like, I have nothing to read. And he was like, go out in the garage. There's a box set of books there. They have white covers. It says Lord of the Rings. Go see if you like those. And I think that was like mid-morning, and my mother was furious that evening because she couldn't find me. I had just like buried myself in the corner of the garage and was reading.
Yeah,
So
I read The Hobbit in my teens. When I read
oh,
The
it's
Hobbit.
just
And then it took forever for the Lord of the Rings trilogy to come out.
it did. Yeah.
And it's one of the long, in fact, it's a question I asked my readers a while back. It's one of the longest series to write. It took over 17 years.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I know that he took 5 years off in between that time, but it took 17 years to write that.
Well, and I've read. There's one book I'm kind of dying to get my hands on. It's a history of the Hobbit,
Oh, I haven't
and
heard that one.
it's like that thick. But I also have John Garth's Tolkien and the Great War, which is a phenomenal book. And I've done a lot of Great War research as well, and just getting an understanding of his whole story, from losing his parents at such a young age to his best friends in school, and then the war, and then trying to go back and rebuild your life after that, and it's just incredible.
And they write the books too.
Yeah, but it's super cute I think I read Christopher Tolkien said, the reason why The Hobbit was written down was because one night they said, their dad said that Thorin's hood was green, and then the next night he said that Thorin's hood was yellow, and the kids were like, stop, 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 that's wrong. And so they had him write it down because he kept kind of switching little details that frustrated them. Yeah.
And they classify now as The Hobbit as a prequel to The Lord of the Rings, but for me, I don't think it is. I mean, who am I to say? But I always imagine a prequel as, short. But, the prequel, the Hobbit is a pretty big book, but they classify it now as a prequel to the Lord of the Rings series. So
I think it's more of a standalone.
that's a
in
good
and of itself.
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of, it's tied obviously into the same universe, but it's not, I don't know. I think it just stands so well on its own.
To his writing, and one of his first, wasn't his first works, was it? Wasn't his first?
No, because he did a lot of poetry as well.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Did you ever see the movies for The Lord of the Rings?
I did. They came out when I was in high school.
And I was quite impressed with them. I was unsure about watching them, but because for me, after I've read the book, I get irritated when they just mess it up in a movie. But I was quite impressed with the movie.
The only part I was sad about was that they didn't include the scouring of the Shire, which I thought was the whole point.
Wow, since I've seen it, but
Yeah, so when the hobbits come back, when the four hobbits come back, and Saruman has taken over the Shire, and then they clear it out. That was. It's hard to read, but I think it's the most.
You make a point.
Yeah,
you do. You
make. It's just phenomenal.
We're sitting here talking. You're talking about your book, but it's like we're talking about J.R. Tolkien, and it's like now I want to read these books again. It's been a number of years since I've read them, and those are the kind of books that you can just pick up and get right back into it. And every time, because I have read The Hobbit a lot. But when I pick it up, I discover something new each time I read the book. I'm like, well,
I've read that's because you're a new person. You're a different person every time when you read the book again. Yeah. And I think that's true. I mean, the stuff you go through in your life, hardships, experiences you've had, people you've lost, it changes you.
Yeah. Okay, back onto your book. That was a nice little sidetrack. Before we continue, I'm looking up the time. Are you ready to do a reading? Are you ready?
I am. Yeah.
We're gonna have a treat. Rachel is going to read from hold up the book cover one more time for people that are joining us. So this is your latest book. I'm gonna have you say the title because I'll pronounce it wrong.
So it's called The Twins of Strathnaver. So Naver is the river, and Strath basically means the valley that the river runs through.
Perfect. All right. I'm going to be quiet and let you read. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. So this is a conversation that takes place between the ghosts and Margaret, who's one of the twins. Sinead pursed her lips, stole a glance towards Duncan, and finding no support, hung her head. I was just trying to help, lass. Help, Margaret hissed. Help, you frightened him out of his wits. He didn't need much pushing, Sinead muttered. No thanks to you. We'd agreed we'd lay low and you're over here poking them in the neck. Honestly, Sinead, what did that accomplish? He looked the fool, a drunken fool. So, Sinead said slowly, I doubt he'll remember it in the morning. It's been a while, but I remember what happens to a drunk man once dawn comes. And I didn't like the look the blonde one was giving you. It was a bit too welcoming. Margaret sighed. What did he say, Margaret? Duncan said. He no longer lounged against the cabinetry, but stood next to Marie, who knitted her fingers together over and over. His wife is divorcing him and he's here to forget about it, Margaret said. Didn't you hear the same story? Weren't you out with Hugh? Duncan shrugged and straightened his coat. They were too intent on their game. Game? The wands they were waving over the ground. In our times, that would have been enough to have you put on trial for witchcraft, Duncan said with an ironic leer. It's not witchcraft, it's technology. The three ghosts looked at each other and gave one synchronized sigh. Well, what did you hear, Duncan? Sinead asked. Duncan smoothed non-existent wrinkles from his plaid and adjusted his sword. He told the same story to Hugh. Mind you, his resemblance to an old woman weeping over her knitting wasn't as strong. All three women glared, and Duncan had the grace to look ashamed. Is it the truth? Sinead whispered. On her right side, Marie leaned closer. Yes, he was pissed. If he'd been dying to ask me questions about... Well, he would have. It wasn't on his mind. Maybe Louis is the only one who's interested. They're after the gold at any rate, Sinead said. Duncan gave an exaggerated sigh. For the last time, there isn't any gold. Why is the Brock say important to you? Sinead asked. Duncan paled, and then like a bowstring, his muscles grew taut, and his breath came out in a ragged huff. He glared at Sinead with undisguised anger. It's not. Sinead snorted. How'd you die, then? Everyone coddles you by not asking you. We all can. You died on the 26th of March, the day after the Jacobites ran aground in the Kyle. Look at you. She motioned to his clothing. You didn't waste away in your bed with a terrible wound from the battle. It was quick. How did you die, Duncan Mackay? Duncan stood, his lip curling, his fists balled. One hand rested on the pommel of his sword, but it lay there quite calmly, as if the reminder of violence was enough. The air teemed with electric emotions and cold touches of fury. The two women faced down the soldier as they'd never been idiotic to do in life. A smile played at the corners of Sinead's mouth. Duncan turned, walked through the kitchen window, and disappeared into the night. Was that necessary? Margaret whispered. Sinead shrugged. It's say weird, his attraction to the brook. There's something there, Margaret. And what ghosts even cares about buried gold? There's no point in guarding it. If it 'twas me, I'd have told your family where to dig it up ages ago. Would have gone to better use than being buried in the ground.
Ooh, I like that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
When it came to writing this book, what was the hardest part?
Oddly enough, I think I went a little bit overboard on getting the inflection of the Scottish brogue. Just because maybe I understand it doesn't mean American readers find it easy to read. So that trying to find the right balance, and it's so weird because you think the research would be the hardest part, but trying to find the right balance on conveying the accent, on conveying the emotion, and the place. I also had to cut down a lot on descriptions of the area because I didn't want it to overwhelm, and I wanted to keep grounded in the story. But yeah, it was really difficult trying to find the balance in how do you convey an accent without,
especially in the dialogue. Yeah, that really hard.
Yeah, it was.
Especially
I went over.
Speak. I mean, I go to Scotland and I have a hard time understanding them. They talk so fast, but they also are very. I can't respect the word, but the pronunciation is so heavy. It's like when they say a word, they almost spit it out at you. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's so varied. I mean, obviously a Glaswegian and someone from Edinburgh, they sound very different. And you get lots of different dialect accents once you get up in the Highlands.
In Scotland, you can travel within 25 miles and people have a completely different accent. The way when I came over here to the States, I had a broad Yorkshire accent. No one understood a word I was saying. But if you travel south down to London, it's a Cockney accent. And I would understand nothing they were saying, even though I'm in England. So it for such a small country, the amount of different accents is crazy. I mean, they have accents here in America, but not as broad.
I think there's like 4
here in the States.
In the States,
South.
I think broadly, there's the Southern accent, which can be subdivided between like a cultured Southern accent and maybe one that we think is less cultured, and then maybe get like the Bostonian Northeast, and then there's sort of like a Midwest accent, and then
Scotland. You're right; they have
you have these huge. I mean, they're huge numbers of accents. I think it's gorgeous. It
is
variability.
It's crazy. I want to pop up some comments from your reading. We all love it when the author reads on their work. There's nothing better. And I tell the readers too. If you pick up your book and they read the book, they're now going to hear your voice. And that's what I love about, reading to my readers is that voice will stay with them when they actually pick up the book, hopefully pick up the book. But I love it. The readers love it. So I want to just pop up some comments. Thank you for the reading. Krista, let's see who's this one. Connie says sounds interesting. I think I just popped that one up. Belinda says thank you for the reading, but it was very enjoyable. It sounds really, really good. Now, is this book a standalone?
Right now it is. I actually have a really huge plan for. I've started it's kind of like a sequel but a prequel. So I'm going in opposite order. So the next book actually deals with the twins' parents. But I kind of put that one on hold because I wrote a whole nother book.
In between,
And
after this one.
yeah, yeah.
Is it the same genre, ghost fiction?
No, it's historical fiction with a strong romantic thread. That's what my agent said we should start talking about it as.
Sounds good. When you say historical, what era?
So it's 1830 in northern Scotland. So if people know anything about that area, that's the Highland clearances started around 1815. So that's when people were moved off the land and replaced with sheep in huge swaths of Scotland. So that's where you get like clearance villages, and there are many, many, many in this part of Scotland. So the Duchess of Sutherland was one of the main instigators. I mean, she's the most infamous of the Highland clearances, but that's where you get stories of people being thrown out of their homes in the middle of the night, pregnant women who had just given birth, old women, and they'd done all this while the men were away fighting Napoleon.
Wow. Do you have a title for this book?
So it's called Mistress Morrigan.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Mistress Morrigan.
And this might be a standalone or a series, you don't know yet.
I don't know yet. Right now it's just one book. It could be more, but it's just one.
Interesting. And then you'll go back to maybe book 2 of this book.
I don't know. I have another one that I started. I thought I started writing after I finished Mistress Morrigan. So this one is set in Dumfries in 1914. So it's
You're just writing them back to back. Good for you.
I know I can't stop. So it's
I love that. I really do. Now, okay, I want to just pop up this question real quick. The book that we've been talking about, ghost fiction. Laurie Whitney is asking, have you ever felt any ghostly beings?
I was raised Presbyterian, and they don't really. There's not a whole lot of belief in kind of like the paranormal, but when I was in Scotland, it's in Inverness. There are these caves that you have the cliff, and then it drops down into the sea, but there's a hole kind of on the cliff face, and it just drops down straight through the rock and ends up in the sea in this cave.
Wow.
The Smoo Caves, there you go, SMOO. But one of the Mackay's kind of like enforcers dropped. That's where he would just drop the people that he'd killed down that hole into the Smoo Caves. And I was on a research trip, and I went, and I was by myself, and you walk down the cliff, and then you kind of walk up kind of the little inlet. So it's all sand.
Right.
And then you cross this little footbridge, and then you get into the cave. And I was shaking like a leaf.
Wow.
I was crossing over, and then I'm not claustrophobic. I don't really get scared, but I was like, I'm going to take a picture. I'm just going to take a picture, and then I'm going to leave. And it was terrifying. I don't know what happened, but it was broad light of day. There were people behind me, and it was. That's the only time I've felt anything.
Scotland has so many stories that you could just
yeah,
write a huge book on it. What Loch Ness? Do you believe in Loch Ness, the monster?
You do? My family's we're big Nessie believers. I just do it in spite of all the scientists who say it's not real and it can't happen.
I mean, back in the day when I lived in England, we talked about it all the time. Then we looked up this before the internet. We saw all kind of pictures and photos and stuff like that. But I like to think he's there. I do.
I do as well. I mean, what is life if there's nothing left to explore? There's nothing left that's hidden.
Exactly.
I mean, my husband believes in Bigfoot big time, and I'm like, I don't know about that, but
my husband go back and forth on that one.
So we agree that he can believe in Bigfoot and I can believe in Nessie.
There you go. There you go. That works. That really works. I do want to quickly just totally change the subject because you have written other books, and I
Hmm.
just want to talk about them briefly. Can you? How many books have you written total that have been published?
8.
8 books.
Yeah,
Now, looking at your bio, you do have another series. Is it just one series, or do you have more than one?
just one series. So the 2 books before the series are both standalones.
Okay, and can you give us a little background on those?
So the series is called the Captain Saba Mysteries, and it's set on the island of Lesbos in Greece. So um,
Nice.
in recent memory, it's where a lot of the Syrian refugees have landed. But I mean, Julius Caesar saw his first military service on Lesbos. Some of I think it was Paul, the apostles, was on Lesbos. I mean, it's an incredible island. But yeah, that is the mystery series.
Sounds intriguing too. And is this based on anyone you know, or just pure fiction?
No, it's pure fiction. It's the first book is probably like the most emotionally taxing because it deals a lot with domestic abuse, emotional abuse.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, a good friend of mine at the time was going through really a hard situation, and um, I think that was my way of kind of coping with what I was trying to help her through. So
That's good. I mean, I found writing to be very, very therapeutic. When I started writing for some issues I had, it really does help.
it does.
You don't really realize it until you actually sit down and start writing the book, and then it's like, oh wow, I didn't
Well,
really do this.
it's like when they say that you don't know what you think until you write it down, or you don't know what you believe until you write it down.
Yeah.
And that has definitely been the case for me.
And the thing that I find fascinating too is you have an idea in your head, you start writing it, but then it unfolds into so much more. And it's
It
like
does.
peeling away the layers of an onion, I always like to say. And you don't realize how deep you can go. And I just I just get overwhelmed by it sometimes.
Yeah. I picture it like a friendship, one that starts out where you've met someone and you're intrigued by them, and then over the years you become closer and closer and you share more, and the life that kind of like is life experience that's told to you. I think it's wonderful, the process of writing a book and learning about all these people that aren't even real, but they are in a
They're
way.
real to us. You
Yeah.
know, and when you write a series, I've written a couple of series, but when one of those series ended, it was bittersweet because those characters have
Yeah.
been in my head for the last 3 years, and now all of a sudden
Well,
it ends, and I'm like,
yeah, and you have to know everything about them. You
yeah,
have to know their birthdays, their parents, their favorite food,
yeah,
how they drive, what
everything, yeah.
it's
And there's some characters I would never want to know in real life, but I have to.
yeah.
Oh my God, I want you as a neighbor, but I'll write you someday. You know.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
let's talk about writing process. I'll pop up some questions in a minute, but when it comes to your writing, let's talk about your writing. Do you plot your books, or do you call yourself a pantser, where you just sit down and see what happens?
I'm in between.
Okay, you're on the shelf.
Um, yes, I've written one of the mystery books I wrote. I was like,
Sit
I
down.
just want to see what happens. Like, I had the idea. I was on a hike, and I was like, oh, this is the perfect place to place a murder victim. And then why is he there and what happened? So that one was the only one that I kind of just like went, let the kind of story go where it may. But I find that sometimes I'll get off track
Mm.
if I don't have an outline. So I tried to have an outline first. So I go through on a 6-act plot structure.
Oh,
And I think it works better than the 3. Um, and it really does help you from getting a soggy middle, and really just paces out the novel so much better. So I do the plot outline, and I'll start off with like what happens in the first act, the second, the third, and then I will go by chapters. So how many chapters need to be in this act? Huge overview what happens in the chapter. Once I get that done, then I go through and write the scenes for each chapter. So it's not one huge thing at once, but you have an idea of what happens in the novel, and then you just deepen it as you go.
Put it together. You are so organized.
Well, yeah, I think I have to be. I know that there are some amazing writers who pants it, and I can't do that.
We all have to do what works for us. I pants.
Yes.
I pantsed. I've tried structuring it or whatever, but for me, I just do what the characters tell me, and I may not like what they're doing, but there's a reason for it.
I
And
do leave
yeah.
some space for the characters to have agency,
Right.
and for there to be room for the story to
I mean, I
grow
was
or shift.
organized like you, but I just can't do it. I just can't. I tried, and I argue with my characters. If I try and do something, they'll let me know whether or not they would do that. And okay,
Yeah.
sorry, I tried. And then it's like Leisha wants to know, we're talking about writing. Do your book characters talk to you? Do you hear them in your head? Do they tell you any part of the story?
I feel like I talk to them. I'm not entirely sure whether they talk to me back. But one thing I've always done, and I still do to this day when I'm writing, especially when I'm doing a first draft, I have to get into the space where I can be in that setting. I can be with them. It's like you're a fly on the wall, or one of the walls, and you can hear and see everything, and I have to get into the space of what does it smell like, what's the temperature, what are they wearing, like what's the mood in the room, what's the interplay between the characters, and I find that if I can get to that space, it makes for the best reading, the most authentic reading. So I really just try and snoop, I think.
Yeah, that's a good word. I like
Because I think for me, if I try to talk to them or talk with them, I might add too much of myself. So if I can just put them in their home, myself in their home or their workplace or whatever, then I think I can get a clear, I can represent what's happening better.
makes sense. Now, do you write every day, and do you set yourself a word count of any kind?
So that definitely depends on whether I'm doing a draft or not. I do. If I don't write, I'm still thinking about the book every day.
That's true.
I'm still making notes. I mean, I have my.
Oh, good. I'm another one that uses paper, not.
I use legal pads, so I can, because I'm left-handed, and
Okay.
I hate the binder, and I can flip back through, but I'm always thinking about it. I do try and set a word count when I'm doing the draft, because I don't want to lose the momentum. So if I can get into the story, keep the momentum going, and sometimes the writing's not as good, but there's this great quote I love, that you can't edit a blank page.
That's true.
So if I get 300 words done, but it got me through a really difficult plot point that I was struggling with, that's a win. So I don't see it as, oh, I've written, that's okay. I haven't written, that's okay. Or I've written too much or too little. It's, have I figured something out? Have I moved
Forward.
the ball forward?
Yeah.
And as long as that's happening, I'm thrilled.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And the fact that, I mean, I always tell my readers, I've done the first draft, but it's a hot mess. It is a complete, utter mess. But I got the story. Now I just have to go back and fill in the blanks and clean it up. And thank you, Lulu, for putting up with my, my story, because she gets it as a hot mess too sometimes, but she does a good job.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and I figure like at the end of the novel, I'm like, oh, I know exactly, I know exactly what I need to go back and edit because at the end of the novel, you know them so much better. You've
You do.
got such a better handle on the story, and
Mhm.
you can go back and edit really well, tighten up the story a lot better. And I don't care if it's a hot mess if I've
I don't
come
either.
out of it with like
Yeah, I
a
don't either. As
solid
soon as I
grasp.
get
Yeah.
the bones of that story down,
Yes.
I had the beginning, I had the middle, and the end, and I'm happy with that, then I take my time going, paragraph, line for line, all that stuff, making sure everything ties in, So, yeah, just get it down. Just get it down,
Yep.
what we need to do. Um, you mentioned that one of your other books, what was the title again? Takes place in Greece. Now, which one was that?
That's the Captain Sava series.
Okay,
So
and
SAVVA.
asking, have you been to Greece?
I haven't. No, I was supposed to go in 2020, in March of 2020. I don't know if anybody remembers what was happening in March of
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
um, yeah, I got this dual hit of I found out I was pregnant and then COVID. And then Erdogan, who's the president of Turkey, um, like opened his borders, and there was a massive flood of refugees, and then there were huge protests on Lesbos, and
Wow.
it became. I was supposed to go alone too, um, so it just became kind of a huge hot mess. And I'm really glad I didn't go because all of
I
the
wouldn't travel to it.
everything shut down,
Yeah,
and so I
no,
probably
there's no way. Well, it's on the bucket list, right, to go to Greece.
yes.
What I know, of course, we know you love England and Scotland especially, and Greece you want to go to, but what other countries do you want to see that you haven't seen yet?
Um, I've done a lot of traveling in North America. Um, But I would honestly love to take like a summer and just putz around Europe, um, just because I'm just a huge history nerd,
Hmm.
and there's so many sites that I would love to see, places that when I reading about them and they don't feel real. So as an American, I always felt like Washington, D.C. was kind of this mythic place and it didn't really exist. Um, but I had the chance to go there for um, a summer to learn about international relations and diplomacy. And um, it was like, oh, these places are all real. And I remember stepping out of the bus and Hillary Clinton walked right in front of me. And I thought, like, this.
Wow.
So everything's real. It sounds really silly,
No,
um,
no, not at all.
but all those places that you read about, they're just fascinating. For somebody like me, I tell my Scottish friends of like, you don't understand. We don't have layer after layer after layer after layer of history that you're just standing on and taking for granted. I mean,
Have to
in
experience it in person. You
yeah, I mean, thinking about like what Yorkshire experienced from the Romans to the Great Heathen Army to, I mean, it's just the layers of history are just, that's what intrigues me.
I mean, little things like when I grew up in Ilkley, it's a small Roman town in Yorkshire, but they have the Roman wall. And you just sit on
Yes,
this wall and you
yes,
think back to when this was built. It's just mind blowing.
it is.
Even as a child, I mean, I was, you know, 10, 11 in Ilkley at that time, sitting on this wall, and we're playing on the wall, but
Mhm.
it's artifact, it's history, and it's just like, wow, you think about the Romans that came here and put this wall together, and they had a fantastic manor house, museum too. But what's one thing I love about England is the history.
Yes,
This
yeah.
country's 250 years old. That's a baby.
Mhm.
Think of the buildings in England
Yes.
and Scotland,
Mhm.
That's one thing I do. Yes,
Well,
missed about England. It's the history.
yeah. I mean, I got the chance to go to Skara Brae in Orkney,
Mm.
which is a Neolithic settlement it's one of the only preserved ones of that quality. I mean, it's older than the pyramids. And standing there and seeing that and being in the same space, the connection to people and the connection they had to the land. And, um, I remember when I saw Stonehenge for the first time,
That's another
uh,
one. Yeah.
it's mind-boggling. The sarsen stones are so much bigger than you think they
Insane.
are.
I've been to Stonehenge and it's insane. And we have to, like you said, you read it in the book, you look at the photos, but you have to stand there and the emotions that you feel. That's
Yes,
what
yeah.
it is. You don't get those emotions looking at a picture. You just
No, you don't.
reading about it. You just don't. No
Well,
matter
you
how
the wind on your face, you don't, I mean, there are other unexcavated hills around Stonehenge on the Salisbury Plain, and just thinking about the movement of the stones
yeah.
from Wales. I mean, some of them they think came from Scotland now.
And they're down south
Um,
of England.
yeah, yeah, and you think about, like, the distances traveled lugging these stones.
And how
So,
do they
yes,
know them?
that's yeah.
You know,
History's just fascinating. I
really is.
especially when you can visit the place. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree with you. I enjoy historical fiction. I do. And I'm interested to read your books, definitely. Before we wrap this up, it goes by so quick, but can you just let the readers know, number one, where they can find your book and what kind of format your books are on, and a website if you have one, which I'm sure you do.
Sure. So I do have a website. So it's author Rachael Wright. So RACHAEL.com. So the books are on Amazon. They're on Barnes and Noble. They're on bookshop.org. You can also buy them direct from my publisher if you want a signed copy. So that's greenavenuebooks.com. They're available in ebook and paperback, and so we have Kobo and Kindle version, and we are coming out, I think, next month with sprayed edges and a hardback
Oh,
special
wow.
edition.
Those are popular
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, and we're in talks for an audiobook, so
Excellent.
it's
That's fantastic.
exciting times.
I love
Yeah.
it. Before we wrap this up, my last final question for you is, what one piece of advice will you give to a writer that wants to become a published author?
Never, ever, ever, ever give up. It's going to take 10 times as long as you think it's going to take. It's going to be 100 times harder. But if you love it and if you get joy out of it, don't give up.
Good advice. Good advice. And the giveaway, you are doing a giveaway. Can you let
I
me know
am.
what that is?
So we have 2 signed copies. Unfortunately, it's not the super special edition, but it's going to be 2 signed copies of the Twins of Strathnaver. And I can do a special message too if you want them. So, and then we'll send them out hopefully this week before the crazy Thanksgiving rush.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you so much. That's fantastic. And I'm doing my giveaway, which is the $5 Amazon gift card. And all you need to do to be entered into that is go to my author page on Facebook, share this video as many times as you like. The more you share it, the more entries you have, and you'll be in the drawing for the $5 Amazon gift card. But do tag me so I know that you shared it, and I will announce the winners in a couple of hours, and I will email you with the winners' details. And if you have any last words before we sign off.
The most amazing thing I have been able to experience being a writer is connecting with readers. So if you purchase it and love it, please reach out. I'd love to hear what you think about the book. And thank you so much, Tina, for having me on. It's been such a pleasure being able to talk about all of my passions.
I love it. And I would love to have you back on when your next book comes out. And the next
Yes,
book
please.
and the next book, because
Let's
you backed up. You really
let's schedule it.
That sounds good to me. All right. Thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And I'll see you in the group where I announce the winner. Good night, everybody. And thank you.
Night.